Your Majesties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for always returning. Thank you so much for your show of love. Thank you so much for all that you do for this community to keep growing. Hope you're well in all your ways, Your Majesties, and you are loving yourself and others like always. All right, today I would want us to talk about two things. First, the fact that African history did not start with colonialism and slavery, because this is what the mainstream media pushed out there, that there was only a place called Africa when the white man came and discovered. Yes, Your Majesty, this is what is out there for everybody to see. That there was a place called Africa only when the white man came and gave it a name. But prior to that time, prior to slavery, prior to colonialism, the motherland was existing. Al-Cable land was already intact, because I keep saying it and I will not be tired. I will still say that life all started from here and outside. It's from the continent that life started and went outside. There are evidences. You can do your research about that. Then we are going to talk about the origin of the 10 Commandments. Since everything started from here, if you do not want to listen, you can just skip, just block me so that you don't see my face, my ugly face anymore, all right? Because I get people who feel, Africans even themselves will feel so inferior about themselves and hold the Europeans and Americans in high esteem. They feel that, no, there was nothing until they came and said there's something. All right, so let's get straight to what we are saying now. Prior to colonialism and slavery, the motherland was in existence because life sprang out of the motherland, Al-Cable land. Now, you remembered the professor I brought here. We knew that these people already know, they know that it is from here that man left. It is from here that life started, and man left from the continent to every part of the world. During that migration, where Africans, Al-Cable lands, left the continent and started migrating to other places, they discovered places. Those of African descent discovered the world. Before those who came to tell you that they discovered you came, your ancestors had already discovered the world. And when your ancestors discovered the world, those that came and told you they discovered you were not even in existence. Do you understand? Now let's get to it.
Up until the Nicene Conference of Bishops in 325, when Rome, under the order of Constantine, the Roman emperor, ordered the 219 bishops at Nicaea, and they took away Christianity from the Africans. Just remember that before they said Jesus was born in a manger in Bethlehem, they said he was born in a cave in Ethiopia. It was at the Nicene Conference they changed that. In 325 AD, Constantine, the Roman emperor, ordered a conference be held because Rome wanted to take over Christianity from the people who started it. There is no major university, no major library in Europe I have never been to. There's no major library in Asia or Africa I have never been to. I have been to every one of the major tombs and temples of Egypt and got the pictures and read the hieroglyphs and everything like that.
The Nuba Mountains of southeastern Sudan, or the biblical Mount Nebo. This is where Moses, right before his death, was ordered to climb the highest mountain in the mountain chains, which the Bible refers to as Abarim, to get a full view of the promised land without violating the ban on entering the borders of Canaan. Moses, from the peak of the Nuba Mountains of Sudan, which, as we will see in a following episode, was located on the borders of the Holy Land, got a full view of the promised land of Canaan. He got a view of central and northern Ethiopia. He saw the mountains, the rivers, of the land that would later be conquered and inhabited by his people for more than 1,000 years, a land which they would conquer just a few months after his death. And after getting a full view of Canaan, Moses died and was buried in this same area. And according to the Bible, Moses was buried by God himself in an undisclosed location, where his body lies to this day, somewhere in the troubled Darfur region of southeastern Sudan.
What would be the greatest blunder in academic history? The misplacement of the biblical Holy Land. And this ahistorical tradition grew even bigger after the birth of Christianity, with the Catholic Church furthering this misreading of history through its teachings and writings, which it copied from these very same Jews and spread throughout the Christian world. A couple of centuries passed by, and the Muslims adopt this tradition as well. Using a rabbi as his tour guide, the second Caliph Omar, after capturing modern-day Jerusalem, was pointed to an empty quarter in this city and told that this was where the temple in Jerusalem once stood.
We entered a cathedral called the Resurrection. The patrician said, "This is David's temple." Umar radiallahu anhu gazed at it and pondered for a long while. "You lie," he said.
Right there he erected the very first mosque in Palestine, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, after the name used in the Quran for the ancient temple in Jerusalem. This misnomer would stick for another 1300 years. In the following centuries, Palestine became a war zone, with different religious groups and ideologies fighting over an insignificant territory that they believed to be holy. And their misreading of biblical history was further cemented by a 19th century phenomenon called biblical archaeology, with Bible-believing researchers identifying and naming different arbitrary sites in Palestine after biblical landmarks, and shoehorning these sites into biblical history. The 20th century comes, and a massive wave of convert Jews of European origin begin to migrate to Palestine. And within a few decades, these Jews become the majority population and form an independent state called Israel. This adds even more to the delusions. A misreading of history that originated in a primitive Iron Age society is now, more than 2,000 years later, still at the root of one of the longest lasting conflicts in human history, the conflict over the so-called Holy Land of Israel, with different groups still identifying an insignificant desert strip as the biblical Holy Land, and risking both life and safety over its possession and control.
You know, there was a time I was invested in digging more into this, where is the Holy Land, these holy places we hear in the holy books, where are they located? And then you get some people coming to say it's not true. If they are in Al-Cable land, why do we have them in the Middle East? Why do we have them located this place, located that place? But these are places people just go to and then look at the place and say, okay, this place should be called Israel. This place should be called Jerusalem. This place should be called Hebron. And then they try to recreate the place to look like the description they get from the books. These are what is done. And to dig into it more, all right, they became more audacious by coming down even to the continent to get some of these historical trees, stones. They excavate them. They transport them from the continent and go plant them in these places so that they look more real. It happens. This is how places are created. Now, the place we call Holy Land is royal. All right? And many people go for pilgrimages. A lot of those of African descent fly with their hard-earned money, travel to these places and go to worship, and they feel so fulfilled that they have gone to the place where Yeshua lived and walked, not knowing that it is under your nose. You are being lured out and they milk money out of you when you get there. They go to these places to go worship, why the real thing is within them. And this is the irony of life. You have everything in you, but you keep looking outside. You keep looking outside, thinking that the one outside is the best. So this is how it is. That very Israel was created in 1948. I have said this here over and over again. The church wouldn't want us to believe that. It doesn't matter. That is where Yeshua was. That is where Yeshua is. Oh, this is where Yeshua was buried. Oh, this is where this is. And they make it look so real, and we go to it. But the real ones is within us here. We run away from it. I hope we picked something from it. Now, let's go to the 10 Commandments.
You told me that Moses, there were more than 10 commandments. Moses just took
42. The negative confessions. Moses isn't supposed to have been born until 1349 BC. The Africans were already in the 18th dynastic period. Akhenaten, who died before Moses was born, and Imhotep, who died more than 2,000 years before the birth of Moses, and others at the Grand Lodge of Mem had 42 laws called now the negative confession, one for each nome. They go like this: I have not killed man nor woman. I have not spoken ill of the gods. Moses is supposed to be born in Egypt, they said, at a place called Sukkot. Already, it says that Moses get the 10 Commandments of Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai is still in Africa, right? The Sinai Peninsula is a part of Egypt. More so, is it possible for Moses to be born in Egypt, educated in Egypt? At age 85, he's still in Egypt, and he did not learn the negative confessions? Is it possible for you to go to school, born in the United States, go to kindergarten, elementary, junior high school, and college, and never heard of the United States Constitution? Then it would have been impossible for Moses, when everybody had to read the negative confession 5 times a day, for Moses not to have seen those 42 laws and extracted 10 of them, leave 32 more. Now, if you could go to the temple of Setaiwan at Abydos, to go to the tomb of Ramesses VI at the Valley of the Kings, go to the temple at Edfu, where you would, by the way, see the story of an immaculate conception and a virgin birth 4,100 years before the Mary and Jesus story.
As a matter of fact, wait.
No,
Let me just put it in form of a question then. I mean, I don't want to stop this, because we're here for information. But what you're trying to get me to believe is that Moses didn't get the 10 Commandments from Mount Sinai, but he got them
from his fellow Africans.
Moses was the high priest in Egypt, a high priest of the Egyptians in Egypt. Then what was he teaching? He wasn't a high priest of the Jews.
They were no Jews in those days. They called themselves. Remember now, there were no Israel yet. Israel is not until 1196. And when we to hear of Abraham, Avram as he was called, coming into Egypt, the Africans already in Egypt, already in their 14th dynastic period when he shows up. All of the pyramids are built. That's another thing. Every one, the 62 pyramids in Egypt were built before the first Jew was born.
Why was he fleeing from the Pharaoh?
Let me ask
What
you
was the
something.
charge?
I can write anything when I want to write, you know. Who can stop me from writing if I got the power?
I was about to ask you, what kind of trouble do you get into for holding these kind of views?
Oh, the other day, a black sister spat in my face, and because she couldn't take that. She couldn't take that Jesus was black. She said, no. I mean, he had no color. If he didn't have no color, how John the Baptist saw him to baptize him?
Do you realize that you're getting at the foundation, that you're shooting and digging away at the foundation of what most of us grew up believing?
Yeah, well, we believe a lot of things for a long time. One thing, they give us 3 pages in the Bible. Slave, obey your master. And that's what we believed for the longest time. They said that Jesus said, so how would Jesus, who fought the system, say to the slave, obey your master? It didn't sound rational, would it? So, look, most of the things, we're in a European system. You could come to this university and spend 4 years, go back and spend another 2 for your masters, and another 1 or 2 for your doctorate, and never had any course at all about Africans. But every day you come here, you got courses about Europeans. This is an extension of European culture, European belief, European racism. And it has no intent of teaching about the Africans. The Africans built the Europeans' first university, the University of Salamanca in Spain. These are historical records.
Your Majesties, you heard that argument. So I'm going to leave you to think about it and leave your comment there at the section. We're going to find time to really deal with this. All right, this is where we stop for today. Like I said, leave your comment there at the section, and I'll see you in my next one. Until then, love yourself, love others, stay safe, stay positive. Always, Your Majesties. Bye for now.